Hello everyone, this is Snoopy here, back with another TF2 video. Today I have for you guys another TF2 topic series video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about toxic players, what they are, what they do, and overall just the whole entire idea of a toxic player. So I hope you guys enjoy this TF2 topic series video, just me going over toxic players. As always, if you guys enjoy these videos, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the video. Alrighty guys, let's get into the TF2 topics video right now. So as you know, toxic players in games are usually players that are extremely rude and just try to cause problems with you in a game, whether it's just to get you extremely mad or to annoy you or just to cause a bunch of problems. And I feel like in not only TF2 but in other games, they can become quite a big problem. Now toxic players are normally just people that just want to get you irritated and cause a bunch of problems. And a lot of people seem to forget this, is that they're just usually there just to irritate you or just be rude because, you know, just because they can, basically. But I mean, with these toxic players, you kind of have to learn to deal with them. And the way I've personally found to deal with them is just to completely ignore them. Now, when they're trying to say rude things, just go ahead and just completely ignore them. As in, you should actually go ahead and kind of just leave them alone. I mean, they're going to obviously be rude and they're not going to stop, even if you tell them to. So why not, you know, just kind of leave them alone, since they're just going to continue to cause problems and it's going to be really pointless and it's going to be really stupid because nothing is going to work out in your favor. And I mean, with toxic players, personally, I don't find too much of a problem with them because they don't cause too much of a problem. I mean, they can be rude and extremely, you know, just be extremely racist or do a bunch of different things, but you have to realize that they aren't going to become a problem unless you make it a problem. And I feel like when you're kind of in that position where you realize that they aren't a problem until you make it a problem, as in you just talk to them and you just try to, you know, talk them out of what they're doing, they aren't going to stop, and it's just going to become a huge problem and a waste of your time, because that's kind of what they want. Is in a way they're trolling you, but at the same time they really aren't, because I mean a troll's going to just, you know, say a bunch of stuff and just get you to react. I mean, they're doing the same thing, but if you don't react, then nothing's going to be a problem. Now, I think it's pretty funny every now and then as well, is that when you run into these toxic players, they will try to say anything just to irritate you. And if they fail, they'll still try. I mean, that's all they really do. I mean, their personal goal is just to go ahead and irritate people, or they just say random stuff for fun. I mean, there's a difference between a toxic player and someone that's just trying to make jokes in a game. I mean, a lot of people that make jokes in the games, they'll just say them every now and then. Even if they aren't the best, they still, you know, they just try to make a game, you know, look up and be a bit brighter than it usually is. I mean, in CSGO, you can normally find those players that just try to, you know, have a little joke every now and then when they're playing and just, you know, just enjoy the game and have fun with it. But then there's other players that will just be actually extremely rude and just try to make it a big deal just with the whole entire idea of it. And I feel like those players just, you know, they can really become really rude and they can become a big problem, as I said in this video. But it just comes down to, are you going to deal with them, as in you're not going to really care, you're going to leave the game, or you're just going to say something back. Now, my personal opinion with toxic players is if they're going to be toxic, then, once again, just don't even bother with them. Don't try to deal with them too much, because, I mean, they're just going to be toxic and just cause a bunch of problems. It's not really worth fighting for. Now, if they're just going to go ahead and just, you know, continue, or you're in a game where you can go ahead and leave without any consequences, then I would definitely leave. Because a good example of that would be in like a TF2 lobby. Because I mean, I've ran into some people in TF2 where they've been extremely rude, and I mean, it's been a public game like this. And when you run into public games, I mean, you can technically just leave with no consequence, so it's no big deal. And that's another good thing about TF2, is that it's like that on its own, which is really useful. And that's another thing I like about this game, is that since it's like that, it does give you a really good idea of how to deal with different players and communicate with others. Because I mean, if you communicate with a player that's toxic and you just kind of ignore him, then that's good. But at the same time, if you deal, or you actually kind of communicate with someone that's, you know, has no problems, then, as in they don't really, you know, they aren't a big problem, they aren't really toxic, they don't have any problems, then that's good as well. Because, I mean, you have to realize that in any game, in any multiplayer game, you are going to deal with many different players, and they're all going to be usually very different, so that's kind of good on its own, because you learn to deal with other players themselves, whether it's in CSGO, TF2, and you just get to learn their play styles. That's kind of good, because I mean, it can help you, but at the same time, it can become a big problem But anyways, guys, the point that I'm trying to get across in this video is just that toxic players can become a problem, and that you should definitely learn to deal with them. I mean, you can't really say it any other way. I mean, they're always going to be toxic, and they're just going to become a huge nuisance. Whether they're in a bunch of games or a few, they will always be the same. And that kind of sucks, but once again, I mean, you have to realize that that's kind of how it works out. And as much as it sucks, it still is the truth. And if you're going to deal with the toxic player, then you should just go ahead and just leave it alone and just try to continue to do something. Because, I mean, if you're going to just constantly go back to them and just try to say remarks, they aren't going to change whatsoever. And you should just tend to ignore them, since it's just never going to work out. And that kind of, kind of sucks that that's the way it works out, sadly, in games. But it still is the whole entire atmosphere in the way that this works. So yeah, that's just kind of my view on it personally. I mean, it's not that big of a problem, but it's still something that should be, looked at, because it can become a bit of a struggle, but at the same time, it's still something that can be really useful, because it can teach you, how to deal with different players in games. Since, like I said, I mean, there's multiple different players in games, because most of the time they can go ahead and just say a bunch of different things, and they can get away with it, because, I mean, after all, it is a game. There's not going to be any difference whatsoever. I mean, something that is important to understand is that when you deal with a toxic player, is normally not going to find someone like that if you were to just, walk around one day, just go around, and then randomly someone's going to come up to you and just say something like that isn't in the game. I mean, once again, a lot of the toxic players would likely never say something like that, in real life if you were to see them, which is kind of a fact, but I mean, some are still toxic when it's not only in the game, but you normally won't find someone saying that. And since, after all, it is the internet, they can get away with saying it, which is, it's a bit of a struggle, but you have to realize, once again, that it is the internet, so you shouldn't really care too much, since, once again, I mean, they are technically just going to say it either way, which is kind of a struggle on its own, but then, of course, you still have to realize that that's how it works. So yeah, that's definitely just my view on it. And it's also good because, once again, I mean, you can deal with different players. I know I kept on saying that, but it's different from an actual, multiplayer standpoint, and just, dealing with someone, because you're normally going to find people that are toxic like that at all. So you don't really have to worry about that. But when you are in a game like this, you are going to have to deal with those players. So that kind of sucks, but yeah, it's definitely something right here. So that's just something I want to go ahead and just talk about this video. I mean, it's not really a super important topic. I just felt like I need to talk about it, because a lot of players seem to just not understand what a toxic player is, and then they run into a bunch of problems, which is kind of, kind of sucks that that happens way too often in video games itself. Is that you run into toxic players and people don't understand, how to deal with them, and just overall, just these struggles that do happen with toxic players. So yeah, that's just my whole entire point in this video. I mean, we could just go on and on all day long about, toxic players and how to deal with them. But just the simple solution to deal with them is you just don't. I mean, you just leave them alone. You don't really talk to them too much. If they say something on, like, how you're playing in CSGO, like if you get a kill and they say nice kill or something, then you can say thanks. But I mean, a lot of them are just going to be completely annoying, and they just are going to become, a bit of a nuisance. So I hope you guys enjoyed this TF2 topic series video, just me going over toxic players. If you guys enjoyed this video, then make sure to leave a like. And also, if you guys do have something else to say in the comments down below, then let me know, because I would love to hear you guys' opinions on, toxic players and how you've personally dealt with them. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you guys enjoy these videos, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one.